Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. This is so exciting.
Give me love like her. Lately I've been waking up alone. Paint splattered teardrops on my shirt. Told you I'd let them go, and that I'll fight my corner. Maybe tonight I'll call you after my blood turns into alcohol. No, I just wanna hold you.
Hello everyone, today my video is going to be a Q&A about me being 16 and pregnant. I had asked a few people to give me some questions about my experience, whether it was with labor and me finding out that I was pregnant. So I also wanted to let you guys know that my channel isn't only going to be about me being 16 and pregnant, because I'm expecting a new baby in February. Alright, so my first question is, where were you when you found out, and how did you find out? Well, I was actually in school the day that I found out, and I was having major symptoms. So I told my child's father to bring me a test to school. My plan was never to take it in school, but I was very anxious. So I went into the bathroom and took my test. And then that's when I saw that it was a positive test. My second question is, how did you feel when you found out you were pregnant? Well, right when I seen the test, I was like shaking. Like, I was scared, I started crying, and I had sent a picture to him and two of my other friends. I was like, I don't know how to even explain. I was just afraid, I was happy, and I don't know, it was just so many mixed emotions. I didn't really know how to feel right. I didn't know what to feel right at the moment. My third question is, what was your worst fear? My worst fear was actually telling my family, because I was never really opened with them. So I'm like, how the hell in the world am I going to tell them that I'm pregnant? So I think that's what was my worst fear and what made me more scared about being pregnant at 16. Another question was, did you want a boy or girl? Well, way before I got pregnant, I always wanted a boy, because I used to be like, oh, having a boy first and then he can take care of the little sibling. But it all changed when I got pregnant. I ended up wanting a girl. I just felt like I was young at the time, so I thought that I would be better off with a girl, I guess. Another question was, were you scared about labor? So this is kind of complicating, because in the beginning of my pregnancy, I never even used to think about labor. Like, I never thought about how hard it is or how easy it can be. I think kind of during my third trimester, like the closer I got to my due date, I started getting H's, and I was just losing a lot of patience. So then I started getting scared. I was worried about the pain. But then I thought that I was like going to be fine. I kept saying I was going to have no medication and I was going to have a natural baby. But it all turned out to be different. Another one of my questions were, can you explain your labor experience? So this is kind of going to be a long one. So the day I went into labor, well, the day before I went into labor, I was actually at home having dinner with my family, and my feet started swelling up a lot. Like, it just turned into like big sausages. And I was like, how in the world is this happening? And then I woke up. Oh, no, actually, I was like picking on my outfit for school. I always dressed in sweatpants and a sweater. I never cared about how I looked. But that day, I'm like, I want to look cute for school tomorrow. So I was with my sisters. We were looking for an outfit for school. And boom, I ended up getting my outfit. I had to wear like those kind of like loose fancy pants so my feet won't really show, because it was super swollen. And then, yeah, whatever. I went to bed, woke up the next day, and I was waiting for the bus because I went to Brockton High, which they had like a daycare and everything. So they also used to pick up pregnant girls right at your door. So, but that's only when you're like, you know, kind of close to your due date. So I'm waiting for my bus, eating a yogurt, and then I start feeling major back pain. And I'm like, okay, I don't think I'm in labor because I'm always having like, you know, those early contractions. So I didn't think I was in labor. And plus I was a week ahead of my due date. So I ended up getting on the bus. When I got on the bus, I'm still eating my yogurt and my back started killing me more. And then there's like all these other moms in the bus, and I didn't really talk to them at the time. I was kind of new to the whole system. So I was just sitting there like leaning back and forth, and I'm like, oh my God, this pain is killing me. So and then one of the girls came up to me. She's like, oh, when's your due date? I was like, next week. She was like, oh, you're going into labor today. I'm like, why? She's like, oh, because my back was also hurting me when I went into labor. So then I started shitting my pants. And then I went into the school. I went straight into the daycare. I went to go get a cup of water. I drank water to see if, like, you know, I guess the pain would go down, and it didn't. And then it was time for first period, which my first class was math. So then I went into my math class, and I was telling my friends how I was like having very bad pain, and then I started feeling like I was going into labor. And then 30 minutes into the class, I had to go down to the nurse. I'm like, okay, this shit's getting horrible. So I went downstairs. I told the nurse. They also have a nurse who works with pregnant women, and I was like super close to her. So I went downstairs and I'm like, okay, I'm in pain. I'm having the baby. Then she's like, okay, you're not having the baby in school, so we need to get you to the hospital. So I ended up calling my OB and telling her like my symptoms and what I was feeling. And she kind of told me like, yeah, you sound like you're in labor. So I kind of, I think it was exactly like 9:20 something when I arrived at the hospital. I went to the hospital, and when I was there, they told me I wasn't going into labor. I guess I wasn't dilated, so they assumed that I wasn't ready to give birth yet. So they were going to send me home. And what's it called? I also had an ultrasound like on my kidneys to check if that's why maybe I was having pain. And they were just like, you know, looking around for what was causing the pain because they did not think it was the baby. So my OB had seen me at the hospital, and I had another, like a few couple, like, you know, nurses who came in and were like, you know, checking to see if I was ready to have the baby. So, and then I guess not. Everybody kept telling me I was not ready. So it was around 6 p.m., close to 7. They were about to discharge me. So the nurse comes in and she's like, oh, hey, I'm going to give you your discharge papers. You're ready to go home. Take pain meds. Like, you know, if you're having contractions and they're 3 to 5 minutes apart, then you'll know you're in labor. And I'm like, okay. I'm still in pain, though, like going crazy, walking around the room in like very bad pain. So then as she was getting my papers ready, I had went to the bathroom. I came back, and I just felt something spilling. And I told my mom, I'm like, okay, there's something spilling and I'm not peeing myself. I'm like, to pee myself, I need to push out the pee, and I'm not pushing anything out. There's just a liquid spilling out of me. So, and then, but I'm saying this like crying and screaming because of the pain. So then I start standing up, and I had socks on. Then my water just broke. Like, water just kept spilling and spilling and spilling. And my mom was like, get your water breaking. And I'm like, how? Like, what's going on? They said I'm not having the baby. And then I'm just like, you know, crying and going crazy. And I had to make a few calls to let people know that I was having the baby because everybody left the hospital. So yeah, I went into labor at 7 p.m. on September 12th, so 2017. So, and then the doctor was like, oh, are you sure it's your water break? And I'm like, I mean, I think so. It's a lot of water on the floor. So they had brought this stick, I guess, to test if it's really your water that broke. And they put it in the water, and if it turns black, that means that your water broke. So the whole stick turned black, or yarn, whatever that was. So and then they switched my room. I went into the labor and delivery room. And I had the worst labor experience. I was in so much pain because I also had a kidney infection at the time. So I was dealing with that pain and also dealing with contractions. So I ended up getting the epidural around 3 centimeters, and I think that was the worst decision that I ever made being in labor. Because once you take the epidural, you can't move anymore. It's like you take it and you have to be in bed till you're ready to push, until the baby's out. You don't have no type of support on your legs to get up and walk around. And when you're in labor, you kind of want to like move around because the pain is horrible. So, but before I got the epidural, I went in the shower and like, sprayed hot water on me, but it didn't really help. So I got the epidural and I was in bed, and I was like, I had so much pain meds, and I'm like, drugged out. So I wasn't even like keeping track of the time until I think I was around 6 centimeters. They came to check me and they told me to go back to bed and rest. I was able to sleep. Then I was like waking up, and then I saw this like doctor over me. She's like, okay, honey, you're 10 centimeters. You're ready to push now. Then I started freaking out because I'm like, okay, it's 10 centimeters. Now I'm ready to push. And I'm like, going insane. And then I started like practice pushing, and then they were telling me that the baby wasn't coming out. Like she wasn't coming down. So they'll be like, okay, go rest for a little bit more and maybe we can try pushing it a little bit. Then I go to sleep for like 15 minutes, wake up again, we try pushing again. It got to the point that they gave me sheets from the bed, and they kind of made a knot. I would hold it, and then the nurse went like across the room and was holding the other side of the sheets so I can hold on to it and like try to push. And boom, no baby. So, and then it was already the next day. It was now September 13th, and it was like 1 o'clock. And I was super exhausted, and the baby still hadn't came out. So I had asked for a C-section, or I kept asking if there was any other like, methods that they can do to help me take out the baby faster. Because when you're in pain, you just want the baby out. So they kept telling me that they couldn't use like the vacuum. They couldn't do anything of that because only under like certain type of emergencies, I guess they can use it. So I wasn't able to do anything but push. Then the doctors kept telling me not to like, keep asking for a C-section because it comes with more risks, and the recovery process is worse. But I was in so much pain that at the time I did not care. So I was like, I want a C-section. I was like, I'm not pushing them where I need to have a C-section. So, and then after like 30 minutes of begging for one, they brought me papers and I signed and I went in for a C-section. They told me that if I was going to push, I would have to wait a few more hours for the baby to come out. Rather than me having a C-section, the baby would be out in 15 minutes or less. So, of course, I went with the C-section. I went in, I had a C-section, and my daughter was born September 13th at 2:01 p.m. 2017. So that was my labor experience. It was not fun. It was a very long labor. And even after that, it was not fun because, like I said, you could barely walk after a C-section. The recovery process is not fun. You can't laugh. You can't sneeze. Even the car ride home, like if it's really bumpy, like your stomach is going to like kill you. It's really bad. So for any pregnant moms, I do not recommend having a C-section. If you have the choice, don't do it. Well, yeah, that's my labor experience. Another question was, how did you deal with people's comments at school, and how did you tell your family? I kind of put these questions together because you'll understand after I explain. So I did go to a very large school with over 4,000 kids in. So I was kind of like scared to tell people because I'm like, I don't know what some people are going to say. Some people are very supportive, and then you also have those people in school that's just like, likes to bash you, I guess. So I was super scared to tell anybody, but then a few people started finding out, and word got around. I don't know how till this day. But it's like, you tell one person that you trust, they end up telling somebody else that they trust, and then it just gets around that way. So I was like going through a lot in school at the time. I had heard like rumors of people wanting to fight me. Well, not people, but like a few like people that were in like a little group, I guess, that didn't like me. And mind you, they knew I was pregnant because I ended up revealing it on Facebook after knowing that people knew. So there were people, I guess, who wanted to fight me. And then there was also other people texting me, telling me that other girls were just like, it's just like so many rumors. It's like the texting here and there obviously means just that people are spreading rumors and they're trying to come and tell me what was being spread. So they had told me not to go to one of my classes because I guess somebody was going to go try to meet me there to fight me. So for my own sake and my child's sake, I didn't go to class. I went to a guidance counselor and I stayed there with her. Then I was able to go to lunch because I had lunch right after. I went to lunch and I ate with one of my friends. Then I went upstairs to my math class. And one individual came up to me. She was like, she's not in my math class, but she was inside of my class with her friend. And she had confronted me about something that was never said. And I'm like, okay, now this is all adding up. Like, there's just a lot of rumors being spread. So I started freaking out and I was super, super hormonal. I started freaking out. I went crazy. I started crying and I'm like, okay, why is this all being said? Mind you, this is the day after I revealed my pregnancy. So I'm like, okay, there's just too much going on. I couldn't stay in class. And then one of my friends helped me go downstairs back to the guidance. When I went to her, when I got to the counselor, she was just talking to me and I had to tell her what was going on, to be safe in school because who knows what could happen. So I ended up telling her everything that had happened that same day and the comments that were also made of me on Facebook the day that I had told everybody that I was pregnant. She had sent me to the dean's office and they had to call my mom because obviously I was under 18. And I'm like, do not call my mom because she does not know that I'm pregnant. So they still called my mom and told my mom what was going on, but the pregnancy was not mentioned. So after we got that all situated, they had to escort me to my bus home because they didn't, I guess, feel safe to let me walk out alone in case anything was to happen. So once they escorted me to my bus, I never got into my bus. I acted like I did, but I didn't. Then I met up with my friend and I had told her, I'm like, okay, I have to tell my mom today. I'm like, I can't, I have to do it. And then I called my sister. She was in Dubai at the time. And she was like, don't do it. She's like, you only want to tell her right now because you're feeling overwhelmed. And there was just so much going on in school. So it kind of made you want to, tell your mom. So I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, at the end of the day, I don't really have anybody but my mom. So it's kind of like, if I don't tell my mom, how can I come home and act like everything's okay? And then when I go to school, I'm here like suffering, you know what I mean? So I was like, I have to tell my mom. And like I said, I was super hormonal. So I was all over the place. After I had walked to Taco Bell right near my school, which was the worst thing that I've ever done in my life. I walked to Taco Bell and I sat there. And I had work at 3:15. Mind you, I am supposed to arrive home, I think around like 2:30, something like that. So I didn't come home. I was at Taco Bell. It was like 2:30 something, I think, or 2:40, some around there. It was before 3. She had texted me and she called me. I didn't pick up. And then she assumed to call my friend because I was always with her. So she called her. She didn't pick up, but she was with me. And then she texts me. No, I texted her. I was like, I'm not going home. And then she was like, why aren't you coming home? And then I told her, I was like, I'm pregnant. I literally just said, I'm pregnant. Nothing else. No explanation, no nothing. And I never got a response back until my sister texted me. And we all know how moms react, especially if you're 16 and pregnant. And my mom at the time didn't even know I had a boyfriend. So it was just very toxic and crazy. And like I said, I wasn't here at home to see exactly how she reacted, but I'm pretty sure I pictured it in my head at the time. And, everybody told me after. My sisters told me, and obviously my mom spoke to me about it as well. So that's how my mom found out. And the best advice I can give you is to never tell your parents you're pregnant through text. Because I know even if you're young, you're kind of like, afraid, but it's something so big that you kind of want to say it in person. As much as you're scared, sometimes it can make the situation better. When you're like, very distant, it's kind of like, harder, I guess, for you and your parents to like kind of process the fact that you're having a kid at such young age. And then I didn't even end up coming home. I wasn't kicked out or anything, but I was just so embarrassed that I didn't even want to go home. So I had stayed at my friend's house for 4 days. I told my mom on the Thursday and I didn't get home till Sunday. So I stayed with her for 4 days. Luckily, my mom knew I was staying there because I guess her parents had called my mom. So she knew I was okay. She knew I was safe. I just wasn't ready to come home until she met my child's father and started feeling more comfortable. And she had picked me up from my friend's house and I came home and everything was normal. I got closer to my mom, I feel like, and everybody just started getting excited, I guess, for the baby. So that's how my mom found out. Another question, I'm almost done. Another question was, did you continue with school? Did you continue with school during pregnancy and after having the baby? Well, as you guys all know, like I said, we had a daycare there, so I had a very good support system with family and also in school. So I had the surgery, which meant you don't really heal kind of till like 6 months, and then it takes a year for your whole body to completely heal. So which means in 6 months you don't want to engage in like, very like physical activity because it's not good for you. But I had came home 2 weeks later. I went back to school. I couldn't even walk straight. I was still kind of limping, but it was my senior year. I was afraid of, like missing a lot of things and my grades dropping. So I ended up going to school 2 weeks later. However, I did not bring my daughter with me because I felt like she was too young. Even though they had a daycare, I waited. She stayed home with my mom. I waited till she was a little older. Then I started bringing my daughter with me to school. The bus would pick me up at 6 a.m., which means I would be up like 4:50, 5 o'clock to get ready. I think that was kind of like the hardest part, going to school. It was like getting myself ready, getting my daughter ready. When it was snowing, I would have a backpack, like jackets, blankets, my daughter's baby bag, and you just have to prepare everything. You know what I mean? So it's kind of hard waking up super early and doing all of that, especially in the winter, like I said. But I did finish school, and surprisingly, I was able to pass my whole senior year with straight A's. Although it was like super hard, like I said, when you have support, it's really helpful because I had a lot of people helping me. And yes, when I was also pregnant, like despite everything going on, I still continued with school. I didn't leave school till the day I went into labor. So that's the end of my video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Sorry that it was pretty long, and I think that's the last video I'm going to be doing of me just talking until my next labor, I guess. So once again, thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on your post notifications. Bye everybody.
Sing to me, mommy, sing to me, sing to me.